Hola,
Hola, ¿cómo
déjame arreglo.
estás?
Espérame. ¿Cómo estás?
Bien, ¿y tú?
Bien, gracias.
Qué bueno.
Ay, gusto en verte. Oye,
Diga,
acabo de ver que tu nombre tiene acá hyphen. ¿Es de lo que si nada más te digo Aldrufeo o quieres que te diga?
sí, claro que sí, no te preocupes.
Ok,
Ujú,
perfecto, ok.
está
Ok,
bien.
ok, gracias. ¿Cómo te va? ¿Bien?
Mucho trabajo.
Ay, dime a mí, dime a
No,
mí.
yo sé que tú debes estar hasta... Sí, pero todo bien, gracias a Dios, no más eso,
Sí,
pues mucho trabajo.
sí, claro que sí, sí. Y agradecemos que tenemos mucho trabajo,
Sí,
¿verdad?
sí, muy importante.
Sí.
Nomás que no quería llegar tarde y no sabía quién iba a estar aquí ayudándome.
Good morning, everyone. It is 9 a.m. and we want to thank you this morning for being with us at Aldine ISD's third annual Literacy Matters Conference. This morning, we would like to welcome Ms. Ana Aldrufeu. She will be presenting Support Students on Growing Skills to Develop Language and Literacy. We are so excited to have with us this morning, Ms. Aldrufeu. So without further ado, welcome Ms. Ana Aldrufeu to the Literacy Matters Conference for our 9 a.m. session. Ms. Aldrufeu?
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Minjares. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for attending this Saturday conference. Like Mr. Minjares says, my name is Ana Aldrufeu-Madrazo. I'm just going to start sharing my screen and we'll move from there. So if you give me just a minute. So like Mr. Minjares says, we're going to be leading this presentation. I'm going to be leading this presentation on strategies to grow language and literacy. We are going to be looking at all the best practice that we can be using inside the classroom to teach effectively, to leverage our lessons, and to provide students with the support they need when they really need it. So with that said, one more time, my name is Ana Madrazo. I'm in Aldrufeu-Madrazo, and I'm here because I love sharing my knowledge with everybody. And if you want to find me, that's my Twitter handle over there. And I have my information also at the end of the presentation. So let's go and start by what was a wow, a wonder, or a worry that you have from this week? Something that happened to you this week that you really say, wow, or that you're wondering, like I'm thinking about it and looking for ways, or maybe something that really worries you. So I'm going to give you a minute. I want you to think about it. When you're ready, feel free to start putting that on the chat.
So in the chat, Ms. Brittany Bills has shared, wow, our winter kindergarten data. That was her wow. Her wonder was, why do we continue to have such significant disparities in our district? And the worry is, how do we best support our increasing number of multilingual learners?
I love that. And I love that we're acknowledging that now we do have multilingual learners. We are increasingly getting students from different places. Just like a month ago, we just got a kid from Russian. So we have to be thinking about equity and how we provide support to all of those students. So I hear what you're saying. And we're going to be looking at some best practices that you can be using in the classroom, research-based, that will help you to provide some of the support to students in the classroom. And that will help us to get all the students in the district, all of these multilingual learners that we have in our district. And multicultural, because like I said, I got a kid from Russia. So that student, it's a complete different different way of teaching for him. And that was something that we're not used to it. So we have to actually go in through research. We have some other people talking about
yeah, so another person posted, I worry about the struggle of some students being able to genuinely engage in the literacy learning based on their language proficiency. There was another comment from Jones EC Pre-K. It says, good morning, home of that JAG swag.
I love that.
Yes, and then we have another posting from, and let's see, it says MOY data meetings, students struggling with phonemic awareness.
Yes, and that's one of the things that we need to start working on it. And one of the things that I have to say about phonemic awareness is that that struggle carries over, and we'll see that a lot in students in 3, 4, 5th, and even when they go to middle and high school. And that the next person said, my worry is meeting the needs of our EVs learners who are beginners at the high school level. And that is because for years, teachers have been, I mean, they didn't have the proper training on how to support those students and get them to fill those gaps that they have in order for them to be able to be successful. So hopefully with all of these conferences and all of the different trainings, because I saw a lot of presentations I had to do, you will be able to get some ideas on how to work. So we're going to move on a little bit in our presentation. And then I want you to think about what we're going to be learning today. So today, if I can get one person to read me the no.
No strategies to support students to grow language and literacy.
Thank you so much. Can I get somebody to read me the understand?
Understand how to use these strategies to provide students with support and stay focused on the purpose of the lesson.
Thank you so much. And one last person who can read me the be able to.
Be able to reflect in our currency practices and discuss which strategy will be implemented as students develop their language and literacy.
Thank you so much. And I want you guys to actually concentrate on looking at the be able to, because the be able to will be the part that is really going to make us reflect on our current practices, and it will help us to discuss the different strategies that we will be thinking about implementing in our classrooms. So with that, I want you to think about your learning today. And on the chat, I want you to actually I'm going to give you 30 seconds to look at this. Before I actually post the question, I want you to read it really carefully. And then I want you to think about which of these beliefs will support your learning process today. Just pick one. And if you can put it on the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself and let us know which one and the reason why you choose that one. Thank you, Ms. Bills. Thank you. I see almost everybody. Awesome, Ms. So, Ms. Skinner. Great. If I can get just one person that would like to talk about why they choose that one.
I chose never a failure, always a lesson, because we as educators tend to take things very personally. We like to be perfect and we like to get it right the first time. And so I think it's important for us to recognize that there's still a lot to learn and to give ourselves grace for the things that we don't know yet.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bill. And that is exactly, it is important for us to understand that we're not perfect. We're humans and we're in the process of learning. Of course, we have a big load because we are teaching our students, but in order for them to be able to learn from us, we need to be a role model. And it is important, like Ms. Bill said, don't take it personal. There is always a figure out able. We're always going to be able to find a way to move along. So with that, I want to leave something with you that I think is going to be very important for the presentation today. Dependent and independent learners. I want you to think about those two concepts, and I want you to ground yourself into what do you think about them, because we're actually going to move forward to the presentation today, and we're going to come back to think about dependent and independent learners. So based on the framework for our instructional planning, we want to keep in mind that our focus is on student achievement, and as you can see, student learning, and that we have a highly qualified curriculum for reading and writing. We are using the Amplified CKLN curriculum in Aldine ISD, and the curriculum is it's a highly qualified curriculum. And the only thing that we need is to find a way to leverage those lessons to support students' growth on literacy and language. We know that students are coming with big gaps. The majority of those gaps are coming from the time when we were on pandemic time. So we wanna work through those gaps and help our students to be successful. So what can we learn from research? Success is not an accident. It is hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love of what you're doing or learning to do. So as long as we're doing that, I always tell my teachers, if you love what you're doing and you have a truly passion for teaching, then, even though we have a workload that is very heavy, you're always gonna find a beauty on it because this is your passion and this is truly what you like. Also, we want all learners to realize their hopes and dreams. We want them. We want to help them to get there. We want them to be successful. We want them to have academic achievement. And in order for us to be able to do that, we need to work with them and we need to give them what they need. And one of the things that we always talked about is scaffolding. So you're going to see throughout the presentation how we need to be very conscious and be very intentional about how we use those scaffolds inside our classroom. From research, we learn that bringing students' language from their homes into the classroom validate their culture. We want to make sure that we always bring things to them that they validate what they carry with them, which is their culture, their traditions. So always find ways to bring that into your classroom. It doesn't matter what you're teaching. It is important, even just in a daily warm-up, you can use their information. I see my math teachers using the name of the teacher, next teacher right next to it, to ask the students for a problem. I've seen teachers creating presentations where they're using the student's name from their classroom so the students can see and feel value inside of it. Create a supportive environment for all students is very crucial for their learning. So make sure that you're surrounded, it's very supported, but not only having those things in there, just put them in there, but have the students talk to the students, show the students how to use it, how to make reference to it. It's always so beautiful to go inside a classroom and to see students using the references on the side to be able to find evidence or to be able to answer questions or tackle a task. Recognize that students bring language skills from home, and teachers need to take advantage of those practices and allow students to draw on their linguistic and cultural resources. We always have that paradigm about, do I let them use the Spanish in the classroom? If the Spanish is what they're able to do right now, and we are going to provide the support for them to be moving into the English side, it is always important for students to be able to use their first language and to carry over. I'm so excited to see how Aldine had decided to use the one-way dual language and all of the strategies that we are using inside the classrooms on the first and second grade level, and how we're moving into the third grade, because we are going to be making through bilingual students that are going to be using both languages parallel, and that is so amazing. Also, One of the things I think that is most important, and I say we were going to go through it and talk about it, is how scaffolding is not to simplify and reduce content. Its purpose is to often offer the amount and type of support we needed, and if needed, and eventually, I want you to carry on that phrase, to remove the support from the teaching and learning experience. Our idea is to eventually do that. We don't want to keep the scaffolding forever. We want to be thinking, and what a scaffold is to provide us a support because we're building on top high, and we're actually removing that as we go. And we are actually building the foundation of that, what we need. And I know we do need a scaffolding right now because we're working with foundational backgrounds, some gaps in foundation, but we need to start, even through the year, we need to start releasing that and moving away from providing students with so much scaffolding. And help students to become more self-directed and self-reliant. That will contribute to their success. So I want to go back to what I said before, independent reader. That's something that we really want to be looking for. And one of the strategies that we use in the district is cooperative learning. So we want to push students to foster that cooperative learning inside the classroom. So bringing the strategy to life in the classroom, we want to be thinking about different ways, how can we support our students? So we're going to talk about different strategies that we can be using to build a culture of success, showing students what to say instead of I don't know. I've seen these a lot in the classrooms. And I've seen that being in place, teachers talking about it. Having students always answer questions with a complete sentence. I have seen teachers, the students normally have the tendency to just answer the question. We always want to go back and say, can you use it in a complete sentence? Can you use the sentence frame that I have provided you so that you can give me a complete sentence? The first time we don't use this and we don't ask them to do it, they are going to feel, okay, it's okay in my classroom, I don't have to do that. So we have to make these a process that is an everyday process. Every time I post a question, my expectation is so high, I do want you to give me a complete sentence. Using randomness as your frequently asked questions, that's one of the things that we forget a lot. And it's one of the best strategies that we can use in the classroom. Sometimes because of the pacing and because we're going too fast, we had the tendency to forget about using randomness, and we really need to use it. It is very important because it provides equity in the classroom. We want to hear all voices. We want to make sure that we talk to, all the kids inside the classroom are part of the conversation. Of course, there are other strategies that we can be using to provide the support to the kids that cannot say or provide us an answer right away, but we'll talk about those things throughout the presentation also. Using visuals and vocabulary strategies that support your daily objective, always go back to what is the objective for the day. And you saw it today, our objective for today, it was for us to be able to have a discussion about those strategies and to pick one. And towards the lessons, you'll see the different strategies. And then at the end, we're gonna talk about which ones had you choose to use. Having students participating in structured conversations as they're working on structured reading and writing activities. This is very important, very essential that we practice that. Students are not going to be able to do that structured conversations unless we actually provide that modeling to them. So that is something very important at the beginning of the school year. Start working with the students on those and practice with them, model and practice with them so that they feel that this is something that is comfortable and something that they can do in every day. So we're going to the part that I know you are looking for, which is what do we want to do? I'm going to bring back support, and I want to talk about, there's three different types of supports that we can offer. We have high support. High support is for all of those students are, in our case, in Aldine or in Telpas, in Texas, because we use Telpas. We want to talk about beginners and intermediate students, but, I always said, every student is a language learner. So I'm also talking about those students that are probably special ed, any of those students who parents have denied their services, any of those students that have just those high gaps that will need our support. We also have moderate support for those students that are really on it. And we do have that low support or light support. I don't want to say low. Low always have the connotation of the students not being able to do something. And that's not our idea over here. So I want to use the word light. So that tells me that I'm not going to be using that much support for them. So some of the strategies that we can use for high support, as you can see over here, it is important for teachers to understand that even though these strategies have been effectively proved to be used with emerging bilingual students, that we can be using it with any student, like I said previously, okay? And they all contribute to language and literacy development for all students in our classrooms. One of the students, one of the strategies is using Realia, as you can see, having that visual support. We all know that sometimes using Realia, it's not applicable for the topic that we're studying or not easy for the topic that we're studying. So instead of using Realia, we have some other opportunities, like for example, learning by doing. So as you can see in this anchor chart, we might be able to provide students with an anchor chart that they will be able to use it. That even though it is pre-made, we're going to give them the opportunity to actually, like in this case, they are actually going to be placing the labels based on the parts of the plant. We also want to give students an opportunity to do spelling, as you can see on the bottom, on the picture that I posted on place on the bottom. My teacher was actually hesitant to use this because it's a clean shave, but it was actually a very good experience for the students to be able to spell using it. You can also use whipped cream. You can also, I mean, there's different things that you can be doing. Oh, you can just get a marker and have the students write on the board. It's just that the sense of writing those spelling words using and this is not creamy, shaving cream, but it is actually whipped cream is actually a different sense for the students, which is actually really good for those kids that are in first grade and some of those second graders. I know you might feel hesitant if you're going higher, but I will let you try it. You never know. You're not going to do this with the whole classroom. You want to do it in small groups, so give them the opportunity. Also, we can do those rebusts that you see on the side. Like I have some anchors already pre-made, and as I'm reading the story to the students, I'm just placing different, and I can have the students placing them. And so I start reading Once Upon a, and then they place the picture of the clock in there, the word, and then we're using this as a reading and writing support for the students. Definitely grow vocabulary, have a rich vocabulary for environment for vocabulary in your classroom. Do a quick draw, quick write. Allow the students the opportunity to draw something and then write about it. And of course, provide the sentence stems that they need, that students will need. And then field trips. Field trips are amazing for opportunities for the students to build background knowledge and to learn more about the different things that we want to use, topics. Now that we're using CKLA and that we're embedding kids into so many different topics for science and social studies, the use of field trips is very important. One of the things that I do for my first and second grade teachers is that we don't introduce a new unit until we actually read the trade book. And then within the trade book, we always look for activities that we can use. And if the trade book takes us to a field trip, then we provide that opportunity for the students. As we go to a moderate support, I want us to talk about strategies that we can use to support moderate for students. And I want us to think about, here we go again, we're talking about vocabulary. I want to go back to the light support that we have, the high support, and how I put the quick draw and quick write. And even though I did not write over there a sentence stems, having a sentence stems is very important for the students, but we want to be thinking about sentence stems that are very short, that are going to provide students probably not with, a long write, but with some specific right that we want them to, and also provide the opportunity for students to write in Spanish if that's something that they really need. We want them to feel comfortable. And, you know, towards the end of the school year, we might have, as we practice with them and we provide them with more support, with the word bank, with the sentence stems, with accountable talks, and a structured conversation, they might be able to write a little bit more towards the year. But definitely for moderate support, we want to talk about build tier 2 and tier 3 vocabulary, which is something that is embedded into our CKLA curriculum. Always work with the students on what are those tier 3 and those tier 3 vocabularies. Talk about offer the sentence frame or the sentence starters, having available either in your classroom environment or having available in the area. And in my campus, we have them on the table. The students have some sentence starters and sentence frames that allow them the opportunity to start a conversation or to think about when I'm writing, I think, and then they write what they think, and because, and then they have a way to explain what it, or my text state that, and then they can provide me with evidence. Also do that guided reading. We all know that CKLA provides students with an opportunity for independent reading as they move along. And then if you know you have students that need moderate support, that they're going to need your help, you know, bring them to the table, do a small group as the other students are actually working in partners or independent and doing the reading. You can bring the students with you and provide it with that guided reading. As you can see, these students that are in a moderate support are students that have I always call these students like to be in a unique position. They're not ready to be released yet, but they don't need as much support as the students in the beginner. So I'm talking about those high intermediates, ready to be advanced students that with just enough support, they're ready to start moving along and getting into that advanced level. So we want to be very careful of what scaffolding we provide to them. And do they really need it? We want to think about it. Don't provide it already. Just think about, as we move along, have a plan. If my students don't accomplish the task, and I don't want to wait until the end of the task, but I do want to think about it. Okay, I see, I need to regroup. Let me bring them back and let me provide the scaffolding right now. But don't provide it right away, because then we're hindering their idea of being independent learners. So always think about it and be specific when you're planning and have it available, but don't push it. Wait. One of the things that I always tell my teachers as we work in planning and internalizing those lessons, they always think about, okay, my students are not going to be able to do this, so I'm gonna give them this. I'm gonna give it a word bank. I'm gonna give them sentence frames. I'm gonna give them a graphic organizer with areas already. And I always tell them, okay, how do you differentiate? Think about the different students that you have in your classroom. Have you provide something for your high support, moderate support, and light support? It is always important for us as we're thinking about that. What are we going to give them? But don't have it in front of them right away. I think for the high support, maybe yes, because you already know. But for the moderate and for the light support, I encourage you to think about that. And do not release it. Wait until you see if they really need it. Have a full participation in classroom discussion. These students are able to do that just with, like I said, with that little support that you're going to provide it, they're going to be able to tackle that task inside your classroom. Other strategies is, you know, of course, like building background knowledge. We always stop on that, and I'm going to say this most of the time. Our CKLA program give us where we're at or what do we know so far. And as teachers, we always want, we ask the question. If we see students are not actually answering, we go right away and provide the answer. Or if a student gives us an answer, we move along and say, yes, like you said, this and that and that. We want to just, given that productive struggle, we want to activate their prior knowledge and we want them to do it. So we don't want to give them everything. And I know it is hard, and that's one of the things that I've seen a lot in my classroom. when I go visit my teachers and I do observations is part of letting them do the work. The students, we can release them. We can let them do that. And these mother students and live students are ready to do it. Always have a daily practice of writing. It can be used in a journal writing. We're not using journal writings at my school right now, and the only reason why is because the students are going to be taking a test in the computer. So we want the students to be able to do these. There's two ways that you can do it. You can do it in a Schoology and have the students actually post comments. It's important for them to hear feedback from others. You can actually do it in a Google document, and then the students can actually get support from you. Or any other way that you think we can use. You can use Nearpod. There's ways to do it in Eduphoria too, as you create those assessments for the students to be typing in there. And definitely learning by doing. You see, learning by doing is something that students can do in different classes, in different support. You're actually going to see it in every one of the support. We always learn better by doing. So it is important for the students to have this opportunity. And how do we do learning by doing? We can act it out in the classroom. We can have an experiment prepared for them. We can have a speech. The students can actually do a speech on the topic that they're learning. So there are many ways that students can do learning by doing. They can actually create their anchor charts for the classroom. It not always has to be you. The students can create those anchor charts inside your classroom. And then we'll move on to the live support, which is the students that are ready. They don't need scaffolding for us. And if they need it, it will be very little. They can do cooperative learning. They can do think alouds and comprehend alouds. As they're talking, you know, they have that opportunity to read and talk through it. Of course, because we have modeled that to them and they already know how to do it. You can provide one-on-one coaching to the students and then work with them on either reading or writing, something that you think they need your support still. And it doesn't necessarily have to be one-on-one. It could be like a pair of students. If you see that they're struggling, you want to jump in and do that coaching with them. Book study or book clubs, that is essential. Students are needing low support can do these on their own. They love multimedia and digital, so why not providing the students with digital and multimedia support? And then definitely graphic organizers and foldables if the students are creating them. I do want to say some of these pictures that you see over here are pictures that are coming from Aldin, students from Aldin. For example, the digital and multimedia is for one of my teachers, one of my student teachers previous years. And she uses a lot of multimedia in the classroom, and the students were actually working on creating that. And she just tweeted it, and she sounds so proud of the students being able to use that. So we want to teach students about review, practice, and how to apply their knowledge inside our classroom. So with that, I want to take you guys to the activity that we are actually going to be working. You know, in Aldin, we're really heavy about using elevation strategies. And we are always looking for ways to foster interaction, to do cooperative learning, to allow the students the opportunity to practice and review what they have learned. And like I said before, working on their own, and then we just jump in as they need it. Because remember, one of the things that we need to keep in mind is that we are there to facilitate the learning. They have to do the heavy load. And so for the next few minutes, you are going to be doing the heavy load. And I know I talked a lot, but I want you to have those different opportunities to see high, moderate, and light support. So with that said, we're going to be doing this activity called Do You Know? And as you can see over here, if you think about our instructional framework, it talks about cooperative learning, and it talks about practice and application. When we go to elevation strategies, and you'll see what the opportunities are. So what I want to do right now is I want to show you the video, real quick video about how to use the strategy, and we're going to jump into the strategy. So I'm going to stop my sharing, and I'm going to go look for my share again, and then I'm actually going to look into, I just want to make sure that I have my
Do You Know activity is where you review content with the students, and they will do that by working in partners, answering and filling out questions about the content. Today we are going to be reviewing fractions, specifically adding fractions, and we're going to be doing that through the activity Do You Know? To prepare for this activity, I figure out what content I want to review. I find the questions that I want to have them work on, and then I print it out and make copies. The students will stand up, find a partner, and solve the problem with each other.
So I agree because the nominator is...
Then they will move on to the next partner and continue the same steps. Once they are done, review which problems you think are most important for a whole group instruction. This activity is very valuable for English language learners because they are reviewing content, and while they are doing that, they are engaged. And through that engagement, they are reading, writing, listening, and speaking with their partners.
How many pounds of fruit does she use? So 2 eighths plus 4 eighths equals 6 eighths, yeah.
It's also a great way to review content. So it's perfect when right before a big test, or just any time when you feel like there's a need to go over a lot of things that you've learned. For my English learners, I use sentence stems that are posted on the board.
I think the answer is right because I saw it on the paper and I add them up and I got the same answer as him.
We have vocabulary that we also use, that we work on. I also have the questions differentiated by students, and I have extra questions for those children that are ready to move on. I would definitely recommend the Do You Know activity. It's a great way to get your kids up, moving, talking, reviewing content, using vocabulary, sentence stems, and they're able to hit all 4 of the domains while they're doing this in a fun and exciting way.
So I want you to, and I'm gonna start sharing over here. I want you to think about the strategy that I just shared with you. I want you to think about how can you use that in your classroom. And I know it is talking about math, but that's the beauty of it. Even though it is a math teacher, we can use it inside our ELA classrooms. So I want you to think about that. I want to give you a minute to think about it. Think about your classroom, and then think about what would be an opportunity that you can use inside your classroom to use that elevation strategy. When you're ready to write something in the chat, how do you think you can use that strategy in your classroom? Or if anybody wants to just unmute themselves and tell us how can they use it inside their classroom. Before we jump into it, we're actually going to use it.
Morning. I'm driving.
Oh,
Okay. You go first.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I was thinking after looking at the video, I support teachers at the high school level. And I automatically was thinking about Algebra 1 team, getting them a way to get the kids engaged in learning from each other. So I think this will be a great way to, after they look at their data and look at those questions, those problems that the students struggle with, to use this activity. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ms. Skinner. Ms. Tho?
I was going to say that I work with SED 3s, and a lot of them come with no using that Frog Street curriculum, I have to do a lot of formulate a lot of questions so I can present them in the right way and know if I need to use pictures or some other type of graphic, or if I need to be more animated when I present it to them so they can be more engaged. And another thing I'm doing is boom cards is real effective for the children at this age because they like to play games, and they have a lot of games that involve strategy on there. And I find that if I put one of their favorite games up, they get excited. Yay, it's game time, and they want to help each other. If the other one can't do it, they were saying, no, no, no. And they try to show them what to do. So it helps a lot to find things that they can, you know, help each other do and not have to always use so much language that's not there for them yet, you know?
Excellent. Yes. Thank you so much, Ms. So. And anybody else would like to tell us how can they use that inside our classroom?
I'm not super familiar with the activity, but I recently did a session for our teachers on morphology instruction and practice. And I'm thinking that there's a possibility that you could structure this around, you know, different affixes. Like, what do they know about different affixes and how they could be combined to form different words and things like that. So potentially.
Awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to post, I don't have access to do groups or anything, but I do want to provide you with the opportunity to actually look at these articles. So I'm posting an article over there for you. And I'm actually going to give you a copy of the document that I created so that we can use this. So I'm going to give you the next 8 minutes to go through the article and try to answer the questions that you have in there that I have created. I want you to look at both sides of it, one side, and then we're going to identify. We're going to talk about, okay, who can I give this graphic organizer? Am I going to give it to my light support, to my moderate support, to my high support? I want you to think about it. So I'm going to just post, we probably don't need as much as 8 minutes, maybe 6 minutes. I just wanted to go through the article real quick with the students. We do want to give them enough time to actually go through the process. But, you know, we're educators, so I'm sure we can scheme and go through it to be able to answer those questions. So I'm going to post over there for you the activity, and it's going to ask you to make your own copy, and then the article that I want you to read.
Ms. Aldrufeu, excuse
Yes.
me. I have the ability for breakout rooms. So if you would
Okay.
like for me, I can assign them
I would
automatically.
love for them to be able to go into the breakout rooms, Mr.
Sure.
Harris.
Sure. So at this time we have 18 participants. How many breakout rooms would you like?
I mean, if I can have, like it says in there, corners. So that would be great because they will be working exactly the way the kids will be working inside the classroom.
Okay. Okay. So okay, so since we have 18 participants, we'll have 9 breakout rooms. And then you are welcome. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and assign them automatically. So here we go.
Thank you so much, Mr. Minjares.
Yes, ma'am. So the breakout rooms are now open.
All right. So before you move into the breakout room, I already posted 2 things over there. I just want you to go through the article and answer the questions, okay? It's a document. It's going to ask you to make your own copies. You can write in that, and then you can type the other person's name so we know exactly who was your partner for this activity. Of course, the ideas will be for us to be switching inside the classroom. Today, we're not going to switch. There is only 4 questions, so answer it with the person that you're with. Thank you, and I'll see you guys in 6 minutes. Mr. Mijares, do you have the minutes? Because I have them in here. You're mute.
Sorry, I apologize. I believe we have about 2 more minutes at 9:47.
Yes. Mhm.
So at 9:47, I'll go ahead and just
Bring them back.
yeah, I'll bring them back.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Mhm.
Once I bring them back, I'm gonna go ahead and post the link to the Google form so that we can record attendance.
Okay.
And then would you like for me to go ahead and just let them know? I'll just type it in the chat so that way they know that we can record attendance.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks. Welcome back to the main room. If Mr. Minhares is actually placing the attendance form for you guys right now. So, I mean, if you want to take just a moment to go back and click on the link that he's actually going to post for you. And he's actually doing it in just a minute. And he'll post it again. If I can get one participant or a group or a partners that would like to talk about their experience and what do they think about the strategy?
Okay, I'll share. So what I like how they talked about the retrieval practice, that it's not an assessment. It could be more of an informal, like an exit ticket, and students will be able to grasp that better because you're checking for understanding. So that's what I got from the retrieval practice.
Thank you so much, Ms. Solis. Anybody else would like to talk about their experience with the article, the experience with their strategy that we use from Elevation?
I just really appreciate the brief article. So thank you for sharing that. Our district is really focused on like cooperative and collaborative learning, which I think is great. But I think we've really de-emphasized retrieval practice in that process. And so I'm excited to share it and kind of take it back as just a think about for us.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bills. And you see, it's something that we normally do. It's something simple, not complicated. And I think it's actually going to gear our students to where we actually really need to be. Anybody else would like to talk about either the article or about the strategy?
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
My name is Aura Chabora, and I really love this strategy because I'm a first grade bilingual teacher, but I feel like I can even use it in different, like in science, social studies, and in math. When they're solving a word problem, they can work and see how they explain to each other how they solve it, because every student has different ways to solve, especially the GT students.
Mm-hmm.
They think different ways to solve a problem. So I would love to use it during my Eureka time, or so because it's very descriptive. So I would love to use it so they can have like a more engagement and participation and sharing, and I love that.
Thank you so much.
I really like it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Abor. I'm gonna share my screen one more time. We are wrapping up. It's almost time for us to finish with the presentation. I do know that I have these things area. One idea that I heard, it was about, we're getting ready to do STAR, and even though we don't like to talk too much about it, it's something that we really need to talk about it. And this is an awesome way for students to not only practice what they have learned already, but also for them to be able to practice comprehension and writing. Because as we do our CPPLs and we plan, we look at the questions that the students are going to have to answer. If we actually put those questions in here, in this graphic organizer, the students will be able to actually answer them and provide evidence. So one of the things that we could add is and what it says partner, maybe we can put what is your evidence, and then the kids will have to tell us what paragraph they went to, or looking for ways to actually modify this. You see one of the forms that I gave you had a word bank. It was blank, but the idea is for us to be able to provide that. Do you think all the students are going to need that, or just some specific type of students are going to need that? Who can stand on that? Based on what we did, high, moderate, and light support, we want to really think about who would really need a word bank and which students don't need it, so that we don't provide it with something that they don't really need. And with that, I'm going to close with dependent and independent learners, like we talked before. And, a dependent learner, if I can get somebody to read me this portion.
A dependent learner?
Thank you.
Is dependent on the teacher to carry most of the cognitive load of a daily task, cannot complete a task without scaffolding, will sit passively and wait if it is stuck for the teacher to intervene, doesn't retain information well.
I want you to think, thank you, Ms. Solis. I want you to think about your students in your classroom. I want you to think about the dynamic that you have in your classroom. And if I can get somebody to read as the independent learner.
Independent learner relies on teacher to carry some of the cognitive load temporarily, regularly attempt new tasks without scaffolding, has cognitive strategies for getting unstuck, has learned how to retrieve information from long-term memory.
And thank you so much. And that's what we really want. We want students that are in this stage. We know right now in a lot of our classroom, we're C-dependent learners, but this is what we're striving for. As long as we get independent learners in our classroom, they will be able to attack the task on their own without scaffolding or low scaffolding or very light scaffolding. And then we'll be able to just look for us. It is important for a student to be able to find us just when they need it, not all the time. We don't want passive students sitting in our classroom. We want students to be always challenging themselves. So I hope you like the activity that I found for you. And I just want you to reflect on the learning that you got from my presentation today. And I heard some people already talking about it, how you're going to be using that I really want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here with you today. And I hope you enjoy the literacy conference, and then going into the next presentations, you'll be able to get some strategies that you're going to be able to use inside your classroom.
Yes, well, thank you so much, Ms. Aldrufeu. And thank you, participants. We want to thank you so much for joining us this morning during this session. Please remember to go to our next session, which will start at 10 a.m. Have a great rest of your day, and I hope that you enjoy all of the sessions for our Literacy Matters Conference in Aldine ISD. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.